the DM, Mebushielo, the National Commissioner of the South African Police Service, General Masemola, the two Deputy National Commissioners and the Provincial Commissioner of Gauteng Province, and also the acting representative from the DPCI, General Makwela. Members of the media, allow me to say all protocol observed. Today we gather here to give feedback in terms of the quarterly crime statistics, as it has been a cabinet decision that crime statistics will henceforth be presented on a quarterly basis since 2016. We have kept that mandate, and we are continuing with that mandate of reporting and disseminating the quarterly crime statistics on a quarterly basis. As is the norm, after this presentation, the full presentation will be loaded on the South African Police Service website, and at the end of this presentation there's a QR code which you can then scan to be able to have access to the whole presentation. Now, with that being said, we normally start with the summary table of the crime that had been committed and reported to the South African Police Service, covering the period from the 1st of October up to the 31st of December of the current financial year, that is 2024. The summary tables indicate that we have recorded a reduction in terms of the murders for the current quarter. That is a reduction of 757 when compared to the previous comparable period. And one thing that I would also like to mention is that this is the highest decrease in terms of the murders since the lifting of the lockdown restriction across all the quarters. We have managed to reduce the murders by 757, sexual offenses decreased by 311, attempted murders reduced by 261, and then we also had a reduction in terms of common robbery of 796, robbery with aggravating circumstances, the reduction was 5,301, and the sum total of the contact crimes or crimes against the person we have managed to reduce by 381. Unfortunately, of these 7 crimes that make up the contact crimes, we recorded increases in only 2 of the 7. That is your assault GBH, an increase of 824, and also common assault, an increase of 3,521. And we need to also mention that in some instances, these increases that we see are also as a result of counter charges, whereby people, when they are having good time at places where alcohol is being sold, they then fight, then one will go to the police and record a crime, and the other one who was also beaten will also go and record a crime. So we also have an issue in terms of the double registration of one incident resulting in 2 counts of a particular crime. Then moving on to the breakdown of the sexual offenses, we have already indicated that the total sexual offenses decreased by 311, and the breakdown of that sexual offenses, the reductions are led by the crime of rape, where we had recorded the reduction of 408. Then we had an increase in terms of sexual assault, 74 counts more. Attempted sexual offenses, a decrease of 25 counts. Then contact sexual offenses, we have recorded an increase of 48 counts. Then the subcategories of robbery with aggravating circumstances, leading with the 3 crimes that attempt the trio crimes led by carjacking, we recorded a decrease of 1,166. Robbery at residential premises, we recorded a reduction of 101. Robbery at non-residential premises, a decrease of 1,025. And the sum total of these 3 crimes, as I've indicated, they are called trio crimes. We have recorded a reduction of 2,000 296. Then further going down the robbery with aggravating circumstances category, we have recorded a reduction in terms of robberies of cash in transit, that is 17 counts less compared to the previous comparable period, where in the previous comparable period we had 46 counts. Currently we have recorded 29 counts, and that led to a reduction of 17 counts. We had the same number of bank robberies as in the previous comparable period, that is 2 in each, and hence the count difference is 0. Then for truck hijacking, from 480 in the previous comparable period to 413 in the current period, we had the reduction of 67. Then on the next slide, we take into consideration the population of the country, and we do what is called per capita for the crimes. This is only done for crimes where the desired or the victim is a person. And this it also helps in terms of making sure that when you are comparing provinces, you are comparing apples with apples, because you take into consideration the total population of the respective provinces to be in a position to do the per capita rather than only relying on the raw numbers. For the murders, we had 11 per 100,000, the rapes 19 per 100,000, attempted murders 12 per 100,000, assault GBH 87 per 100,000, common assault 90 per 100,000, and common robbery it's 20 per 100,000. Then continuing with the table of the summary, we had recorded an increase in one of the 2 crimes that make up contact-related crimes, that is malicious damage to property, an increase of 391. However, we have recorded a reduction in terms of the arson, that is 89 counts less, and the total of the contact-related crime, we have observed an increase of 302. For the 5 crimes that make up property-related crimes, we have recorded a clean sweep of reduction across all the 5 crimes, starting with the burglary at non-residential premises, a reduction of 2,914, burglary at residential premises, a reduction of 4,997, another reduction for theft of motor vehicle and motorcycle, 1,748, another reduction for theft out of or from motor vehicle, 2,879, and also stock theft, as the Minister has indicated, we have recorded a reduction of 325, and the sum total for the category of property-related crimes, the whole reduction is 12,683. That is, previously we had 95,194 counts. Currently, we are sitting at 82,331, leading to a percentage reduction of 13.5. Then moving on to other serious crimes, starting with all theft not mentioned elsewhere, we had recorded the reduction of 5,242. We, however, had an increase in commercial crime of 2,971, and shoplifting, we also managed to reduce that by 3,675 counts, and the total of the other serious crimes, the reduction is 3,675, and the other serious crimes is 5,946, and the total reduction for all the 17 community reported crimes is 21,588. Then for the last category, which is crime detected as a result of police action, we recorded the reduction in terms of illegal possession of firearms. Then we also recovered more of the drug-related crimes, 5,772. Then we also managed to increase in terms of driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs and sexual offenses, increased by 918. Then the sum total of crime detected as a result of police action increased by 8,532. The difference between these 17 community reported crimes and the crime detected as a result of police action is that the desired trajectory of change for the 17 community reported crimes is a reduction. However, for the crime detected as a result of police action, the desired trajectory of change is to make sure that we remove more of the guns from the wrong hands, and also make sure that we keep those that are driving under the influence of liquor safe and out of our roads. So it is desirable that on a quarterly basis we should achieve more and more of this, and the more they increase, the better for the community at large. Then we now move on to the breakdown in terms of the month-on-month that make up the quarter, and also take into consideration the provincial comparison. On this slide, we observe that we have recorded decreases across all the 3 months that make up the current quarter. That is a reduction of 11,860 in October, 8,933 in November, and in December, a reduction of 795. And across all the 9 provinces, only 1 province had recorded an increase when taking into consideration the 17 community reported crimes, and that is your KZN, which recorded 451. The Minister has already indicated the 4 provinces that are contributing to these numbers of the 17 community reported crimes, and the highest contributors are the provinces of Gauteng, which contribute 26.5%. The second highest is the province of Western Cape with 18, that is Gauteng is 26.5. Then we had Western Cape with 18.3%, KwaZulu-Natal 16.9%, and then the Eastern Cape with 10.2%. For the top stations, for the 17 community reported crimes, I will only mention the top 5, and what we have observed is that the top 5 stations are from the 2 provinces, that is 3 stations in the Western Cape and 2 stations in the KZN. Then of these top 5 stations, only one of the top 5 have recorded an increase. That is your Chatsworth, which recorded an increase of 158, and the other stations in the top 5 have recorded reductions, starting with Cape Town Central, a reduction of 562 at number 1, Durban Central, a reduction of 326 at number 2, 223 in terms of Mitchell's Plain reduction, and number 5 is Mfuleni with a reduction of 147. Then in terms of the contact crimes, the provinces which have recorded increases is the province of KwaZulu-Natal, which recorded the highest increase, that is 1,860. Then the province which recorded the second highest increase was Free State with 131. Number 3 is Northern Cape with 83 counts, and Limpopo at number 4 with 35 counts. That is when one takes into consideration only the 7 crimes that make up what is called contact crimes. Then we also look at the top stations in terms of the contact crimes. For the top 5, we have 3 provinces that are represented in the top 5 stations. 2 are in the Western Cape, 2 in Gauteng, and 1 in KwaZulu-Natal. Those that are in the Western Cape, it's number 1, Mfuleni at number 1, and Delft at number 3. The stations that are in the province of the Western Cape is Tembisa at number 2, and then Temba at number 5. Then we also had 1 station at number 4, which is Inanda. And of these top 5 stations, only 2, that is number 1 and number 5, Mfuleni recorded a reduction of 87, and then we have Temba recording a reduction of 7, and the other from 2 to 5 recorded various increases. Then I would prefer that I skip this slide because I would have focused only on the matters, but there's a slide that gives a breakdown in terms of the causative factors taking into consideration the provincial comparisons. So we will come back where we go into the details of the causative factors per province. Then looking at the places where the matters are occurring, we took from the same sample of 6,651 and we tried to look into what are the places of occurrence of these murders. But on the slide, we have your murder, attempted murder, and assault GBH, but we will focus only on the causative factors that led to the murders. It was indicated that in 3,821, these murders happened in public places, for instance, your street, recreational centers, and parking areas. The second highest place of occurrence for the murder was at the residences of the perpetrator or the victims, including residences known by the victim or perpetrators. That would include places where it's a family house, friends, or neighbor's house. Then the third highest contributor is at liquor outlets, that is your shebeens, taverns, etc., where 244 of the murders have taken place at such facilities. We also had 89 of the murders having taken place at business premises, 69 of the murders taking place at spaza shops, and we unfortunately also have 11 of the murders that have taken place at educational institutions, that is your schools, universities, and daycares, and the rest of the places of occurrence can be read from the table. Then moving on to the crimes against women and children. For the women, we have recorded decreases across the three crimes that we are reporting on. That is, we have recorded the reduction of 174 in terms of the murders of women, attempted murders, a reduction of 169, and then assault GBH, a reduction of 2,451. For the children, the only crime between the three that has increased was the attempted murders, which increased by 54, and then the reductions were observed in terms of murders, a reduction of 12, and assault GBH, a reduction of 117. The Minister has already indicated that we have recorded decreases across all the provinces, and we also have recorded decreases across all the 3 months that make up the current quarter. Then he has also touched on the highest contributing provinces in terms of the murder, so I will not go into the details of that. Then when we indicated that we also take into consideration the population when we do the murders, because the raw numbers might give a false conclusion. So when you bring into consideration the population per crime, then you can then be in a position to determine the murder per capita for the respective provinces. Taking that into consideration and using the mid-year population estimates from the 2021 series, the province with the highest per capita murder is the Eastern Cape with 20 per 100,000. The second highest is the Western Cape with 16 per 100,000. KwaZulu-Natal, it's number 3 with 13 per 100,000. Gauteng, 10 per 100,000. And the province with the lowest per capita murder is the province of Limpopo with 3 per 100,000. Then this is just a graphical representation of the slide that we have already talked to. And in this instance, we also bring the total number of the population for the respective provinces for you to be able to compute the numbers for yourself. Then the top stations in terms of the murders, the top 5 is made up of 3 provinces from the Western Cape. Number 1 is Mfuleni with a reduction of 7. Number 2 is Delft with an increase of 4. Number 3 is Kraaifontein with an increase of 16. And those that are in Gauteng, we have 1 in Gauteng, that is your Orange Farm, which is at number 3 with an increase of 33. And we also have 1 station from KZN at number 5 with a reduction of 28. Those are the top 5 stations in terms of the murders. We indicated that we will skip the causative factors for the murder because we have a provincial breakdown in terms of these particular numbers. Then we drew from a sample of 6,651 and tried to establish what are the causative factors across the different provinces. I will only touch on a few of these. Then when you take into consideration provinces that have indicated arguments as a causative factor for the murder, which was the highest, by the way, across all the causative factors of 1,453, the province which had the highest causative factor attributable to arguments was the Eastern Cape with 438. The second highest province was KwaZulu-Natal with 206. The Western Cape at number 3 with 287. There was also the second highest contributor for the provincial causative factors, which was robberies, which that means that the murder happened as a result of a robbery. It was indicated that 405 of these murders happened as a result of a robbery, and the province that indicated most of the causative factor as a robbery was the Western Cape with 119, and also Gauteng at number 2 with 118. The minister indicated that we have a problem of gang-related murders in the Western Cape. We have recorded 294 murders across all the provinces, and the highest the highest contributory factor attributed to gang-related issues was the Western Cape, with 263 of the murders attributable to gang-related issues. And the stations which recorded the highest in terms of the gang-related murders was Bishop Lavis with 35, Michel's Plain at number 2 with 33, and Klein Flay at number 3 with 23. Then we also had 57 taxi-related murders. Of these 57, the highest province was Gauteng with 28 of the murders, and the second highest was the Western Cape with 15. Then we also had law enforcement, where the law enforcement and security guards were killed in the line of duty. It was in 26 of these instances. This excludes the murders of police officers. And when one takes into consideration law enforcement or police officers that are killed in the line of duty, that is 5. And the total number of law enforcement personnel that was killed in the line of duty in the current quarter, it brings the number to 31. Then if you add the 8 of the law enforcement officers that were killed off duty, it brings the total number to 39. Then on the next slide, I think we have already touched on the places of occurrence. We will skip that. Then we also need to, I will just talk on the first one, whereby we had more or multiple murders in one incident. We had an incident that happened at the Orange Farms, whereby 7 people were killed, and the very same incident, there was also charges of 4 attempted murders. How this unfolded, it was lobola negotiations. The people who were negotiating for the lobola, I think they ran out of beers. One person from the negotiating team went to a tavern and tried to buy additional alcohol, and the tavern owner refused because it was past operating hours. He slapped the tavern owner and went back to the lobola negotiations. The tavern owner got aggrieved, took his firearm, went to that house, killed 7 members, and also resulted in 4 attempted murders. So this honestly brings into context the social crime and the manner in which we are not in a position to resolve conflict without resorting to violence. The others, I think one can read from this, and they will also be made available on the SABC website. Then we moved on to looking at what is the weapon of choice in the commission of these murders. We have seen that from this same sample size of 6,651, 2,886 of the murders were committed with a firearm. And I've always indicated that this does not mean that it is a one-to-one relationship. It does not mean that 2,886 of these murders were committed with 2,886 firearms. We have seen that one firearm is capable of killing 7 people and resulting in 4 attempted murders. So this simply indicates the weapon that was used, not necessarily the count of the weapons that were used. 849 of the murders committed with firearm was reported in the province of Gauteng. The second highest was KwaZulu-Natal with 670, and these firearms, especially in the KZN, include those that are termed self-made firearms. Then we also have the third highest weapon of choice was in the Western Cape with 634 murders, and the Eastern Cape at number 4 with 474. For knives, it was indicated that 1,185 murders were committed with knives, and the highest of these knife murders happened in the Eastern Cape with 258, KwaZulu-Natal at number 2 with 240 of the murders attributable to knives, and then the Western Cape at number 3 with 228. The rest can then be read from there. We've indicated that there were 5 police officers that were killed in the line of duty, adding to the 26, whereby we have seen that law enforcement and security officers that were killed in the line of duty, resulting in 31. And then when you add the 8 police officers that were killed off duty, that brings the total to 39 of the law enforcement people that were killed in the line of duty. Then the only month within the 3 that we have recorded an increase was the month of December, where we recorded 3 more murders when compared to the previous comparable period. Then next, we move on to the attacks on rural communities. I will only talk to the contact crimes from these particular attacks on rural communities. We have recorded a reduction in terms of murders of 8, sexual offense, a reduction of 1, attempted murder, a reduction of 14, a reduction of 1 for common assault, a reduction of 3 for common robbery, an increase of 1 for common robbery, and 31 for robbery with aggravating circumstances, and the total of the contact crimes we have recorded a reduction of 57. Then the murders of the farming community, we have seen in the previous slide that we had recorded 12 murders of the farming community. Now we go into the details of who are these people that were killed in the farming community. 5 of the murders were farm dwellers, and we also had 4 of the people that were killed. They were employees of the farm, on the farm, and we had only 1 farmer that was killed in the current quarter. Then one person that was killed was a security on the farm, and it was also not specified in one incident. Then that is the total of the 12 murders that we have observed in the farming community. Then moving on to the rapes, we have recorded the only increase was in the month of December, where we had 9 counts more. Then in terms of the provinces that had recorded increases was KwaZulu-Natal with the highest increase in terms of the rape of 143. The second highest was in Mpumalanga with 10 counts more, and the Free State at number 3 with 3 counts more. All the other provinces recorded decreases in terms of the rape. Then, as in the per capita for the rapes, the province with the highest rapes was the province of the Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape, as you might have noticed, it was also the highest per capita in terms of the murder. It is also the highest per capita in terms of the rape. And for the rapes, it's 29 per 100,000. Free State was 28 per 100,000. Northern Cape, 24 per 100,000. And the Northwest was 20 per 100,000. And in contrast to the murder, where Limpopo was the province with the lowest per capita murder, this time for the rape, the province with the lowest per capita rape is the province of Gauteng, which has 14 per 100,000. That is the graphical representation. I will skip that and go into the top 5 stations for the rape. These are made up of 2 stations in KwaZulu-Natal, 2 in the Eastern Cape, and 1 in Limpopo. Those that are in the KwaZulu-Natal is Inanda with an increase of 28, Umlazi with an increase of 15, Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape with an increase of 6, then Mthatha at number 4 with a reduction of 6, and Thohoyandou in Limpopo with a reduction of 5. The first column on this table indicates that particular station's position when you take into consideration the whole 1,163 stations in the country. and the second column indicates the position of that particular station when one only considered the province from which that station is from. Then we drew a sample of 9,057 for the rape counts that had been reported to the police. That is a sample of 76% to try and determine where are the places of occurrence of these rapes. We have observed that it was indicated that the residence of the perpetrator or the victim where the rape occurred attributed to 63% of all the rapes that had been reported to the South African Police Service. Then the second highest contributing place for the rapes was in public places, which contributed 21%, which is a distance from the 63 where it was indicated that these rapes happened at the residences of the perpetrator. Then the rest can then be read from that particular table. Then we also looked at the use and abuse of alcohol in the commission of the 4 crimes, that is murder, attempted murder, rape, and assault GBH. It was indicated that alcohol was used in the commission of 10,249 counts, and drugs were involved in 274 counts. Of these contribution for the rapes, we had the use of alcohol was used prior to the commission of the rape in 2017 of these rapes, and the 139 of these rapes, they involved drugs. For the murders is 307, and for the drugs, for the alcohol is 307, for drugs is 13. And we have also indicated that there were 244 of the murders that had taken place at the place where alcohol is being sold. Then 347 attempted murders happened at these facilities, 4,550 assault GBH happened in these facilities, and 100 people were raped where alcohol is being sold. Then going down to the rape and murders at the educational premises, we had 99 rapes that have taken place at the educational facilities. Of these 99, 74 happened in schools, 10 happened at special schools, 9 of these rapes happened at daycare or aftercare centers, and 6 were at tertiary institutions. We also had 11 murders that had taken place in the space of educational premises, and 8 of these murders happened at schools, and 3 happened at tertiary institutions. Then we then look into who were the victim and who were the perpetrators of these murders that happened at educational premises. It's a 3-way table where the first column indicates the premises, the second column indicates the perpetrator, and the third column indicates the victim. We see that there were 2 learners that killed 2 learners at schools, and we also had an incident where the perpetrators were not specified, where it resulted in 6 community patrollers that were killed. I think this was in the Eastern Cape region. Then we also had a tertiary institution where we indicated that there were 2 murders where the perpetrators were unknown. However, the victim was a security and the other victim was unspecified. In one tertiary institution murder, the perpetrator was the boyfriend and the victim was an LN. Then the rapes, we had 99 of these rapes. 74 have taken place at schools, and we have 10 at special schools, 9 at daycare centers. And I will only talk to one figure from the schools. It's the same table. Educational premises gives the place where the rape occurred and the perpetrators. We had 53 learners who have committed rapes, and the victims were also learners. That is 53 of these 99 rapes. The perpetrators were learners, and also the victims were learners. Then, as a proxy for domestic violence, we look at domestic violence-related incidents. That is, we specifically look at incidents whereby there is some kind of a domestic relationship between the perpetrator and the victim. Then we look across were various crimes. Touching only on the murders and rape, we had 315 murders that were as a result of domestic violence, where the perpetrator and the victim had some kind of a relationship. And the province with the highest domestic-related murders was KwaZulu-Natal with 88. The second highest was Eastern Cape with 54, Gauteng at number 3 with 40, and the Western Cape at number 4 with 39. We also had 1,080 rapes that were as a result of domestic violence. And the highest in terms of these was the province of KwaZulu-Natal again with 241. And then the second was Gauteng with 181, and Western Cape number 3 at 172. And the victims of these 1,080 rapes, 1,020 were female and 60 were male. Then for the murders, for the 315, the victims were 164 were female and the male was 151. Then we move on to the subcategories of robbery with aggravating circumstances. I will try to move faster now. We have recorded decreases across all the 9 provinces for carjacking and across all the 3 months that make up the quarter. Then in terms of the stations, the top 5 are made up of Ivory Coast, Lingele 2 West, KwaZakele, Delft, and Orange Farm. Those are the top 5 stations in terms of carjacking. Then the types of cars that are frequently hijacked, the leading is a sedan, a hatchback, or a coupe with 2,339. That is from a sample of 4,797. Then the second highest vehicle that is carjacked is a buggy or a panel van, 1,500 incidents. And we also had 10 industrial machines that were hijacked. That will include your TLBs, graders, etc., or what is collectively known as your yellow machine. Then for robbery at residential premises, the only month where we recorded an increase was November 14, and then the reductions were in October and December of 84 and 31 respectively. Then of these, provincial distribution, the provinces which recorded increases was KwaZulu-Natal with 41, number 2 was Mpumalanga with 30, number 3 was Eastern Cape with 39, number 4 was Limpopo with 15 counts higher, and the Free State at number 5 with 6 counts higher. Then the top 5 stations for robbery at residential premises, they are led by Inanda at number 1 with an increase of 32, number 2 is Umlazi with an increase of 68. These are both in KwaZulu-Natal. Number 3 is Roodepoort with an increase of 16, Tembisa with an increase of 15, and Ivory Park with an increase of 54. So only 2 provinces contribute to the top 5 of robbery at residential premises. Non-residential premises, we have recorded decreases across all the 3 months and across all the provinces. Then the top 5 stations for robbery at non-residential are led by Rustenburg with an increase of 19, Johannesburg Central a reduction of 12, Tsakani in Gauteng with an increase of 23, Kempton Park at number 4 with an increase of 8, and Konke at number 5 with an increase of 3. Then cash in transit robberies, we recorded the decreases for the month of October 18, less, and November 1 less. December we however recorded an increase. And the provinces which recorded increases in terms of cash in transit robberies was KwaZulu-Natal with 10 counts, number 2 is Gauteng with 8 counts, and then number 3 is the Eastern Cape with 4 counts. Then we also looked at the modus operandi in terms of the commission of this cash in transit. 22 of these cash in transit were committed while the armored vehicle was on the road, and the breakdown is indicated in the small square there, which indicates that the most of these happened in KwaZulu-Natal with 9 counts. Then we also had 7 of what are termed cross pavements robberies. And in 10 of these incidents, the method used to stop the armored vehicle was it was bumped and then bombed to gain access to the cash. In 12 incidents, it was shot at and then bombed to gain access to the cash. And this is just a breakdown of that. So moving on to truck hijacking, the only 3 provinces that recorded increases was KwaZulu-Natal, Northern Cape, and the Western Cape. And the month on which we recorded an increase was October, followed by 2 consecutive reductions in November and December of 43 and 28 respectively. Then truck hijacking, what can one mention from this is that most of these truck hijacking, in fact, specifically 24 of these top 30 stations are in the province of Gauteng. Then we drew another sample of 4,379 to look at incidents that might be ransom-related, extortion, or human trafficking. We observed that 238 of these were ransom-related, and the majority of this was in the province of Gauteng with 148. Then 58 were extortion-related, again Gauteng led with 33 counts, and 9 human trafficking incidents with Limpopo leading with 5, and then Gauteng with 3 and 1 in the Western Cape. And this gives a breakdown in terms of kidnapping that are ransom-related. Then on the next slide, we look at the incidents which require the presence of the police. We call this diversion because contrary to what these incidents are, in a normal society, they wouldn't require the presence of police. However, we know the communities that we stay in, then these include instances whereby the resources of the police are diverted to go and monitor football matches, and in some instances to escort examination papers, etc. We had 1,187 incidents which required the presence of police, and these were termed to be peaceful, and the bulk of these happened in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Then we also had 290 incidents which were termed to be unrest, and the bulk of this was in the province of Gauteng with 63. And this table basically gives a summary of the national side by side with the provinces, where one can at a glance see per crime how each province fared when compared to the national. Using murder as an example, we have already seen that we had 757 murders, and it is color-coded green. It indicates a reduction. And then the provinces, again for murder, they are all color-coded green, which indicates that there was a reduction across all the provinces. And then the minister also talked about the issue of commercial crime, and as one can, just I don't have the highlighter there, but if you look for commercial crime, you can see that only one province across the 9 provinces have recorded a reduction in terms of commercial crime, and that was the Eastern Cape. All the other 8 provinces recorded increases. And this gives a summary of what we have indicated, whereby we try to look at per province how many of the 17 community reported crime did that particular province manage to decrease and increase. And these are for the stations, whereby we try to identify which station has the highest increases across the 17 community reported crimes and which ones recorded decreases. And as I've indicated when I started this presentation, there is a QR code that one can scan and the link that one can then follow to get the full presentation on the SABC website. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the interactive session, or part of our session. I have been advised that the roving mic is unfortunately not working, so I am going to request that colleagues just raise their voice and be audible when they ask their questions. I am going to ask by a show of hands if colleagues do have questions, and in the event that you do have a question, please just state your name, the media house that you represent, and as far as possible, please indicate which member of our panel your question is posed to. Just by a show of hands, do we have any questions? Okay, I see one hand. Okay, we can take the hand.
Good day, Veronica Makwaliga from Newsroom Africa. I think just a reflection in regards to what we've seen in these latest statistics. What has helped in regards to the number of decreases that we see in some of those serious and violent crimes? But I also just wanted a little bit of clarity in terms of the breakdown as well, perhaps maybe from you, General, in regards to the number of rapes that took place on educational premises. You mentioned that there was 9 at the nursery school or a daycare center. Is it possible just to get a breakdown of what that involved, and also just any information, of course, of what has happened, especially looking at schools? Are there people in juvenile in regards to this? And of course, any information in regards to what we know about the suspect that was, of course, arrested in the club matter here in Hatfield. You say that there is possibility of more arrests. What does it look like in terms of any witness protection for people who are coming out with any kind of information, or those that want to but could be afraid? Thank you.
Okay. We also have questions from colleagues from social media. I'll just read the questions. We've got one from Velani Luditi, News 24. Can the minister confirm that Nyanga Nyalara was one of the people killed in the shootout with police yesterday in Guwa? Can he also confirm that he was suspected to have killed a taxi boss in Kovimba recently? So that's the one question. The other question is from Alex Mitchley. It says, despite the decrease in murder, the statistics still reveal that on average, 75 people are murdered in South Africa every day during that period. Minister, can you really say that police's strategies are effective or working? And then the last question, what was the murder detection rate for the third quarter? In other words, how many suspects were identified and arrested for these murders? Those are the questions. Oh, we seem to have more hands. Okay, we can take Bule.
Minister, Bule Treaty Jones from ENCA. I just wanted to find out in terms of the number of cases that were not reported. I remember I looked at you have a specific figure of how many cases were not reported. Or are you having a challenge, are you having a challenge in terms of cases that are not reported?
Cases not reported.
Yeah, people not coming forward to report crime.
Okay.
That's number one. And then number two, I just wanted to get more about the program that took place last week in terms of the wildness of police. The focus at your 2-day workshop. Are officers becoming more and more overwhelmed by the realities of day-to-day jobs? Is this program meant to rehabilitate their mental well-being as well? Are you willing in terms of that program?
Can we get a response to the questions posed? And then we'll come to Minister.